Hello. And hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. Especially you, Me Quitly. I don't know if that's a name. I don't know why I have that written down there, but it says Me Quitly suggested this video, which I am very excited to react to. Defiantly German. I like that. Oh, definitely German. Okay, that's another good name. I would have liked Defiantly. I almost am like being dyslexic right now. Like I can't even tell what word that is. Check them out, link down below. Either way, that's a good name. It's definitely. But it could be Defiantly. Anyway, did you know? Essential Autobahn driving rules and signs. That sounds fun. This looks pretty in-depth, so strap in, guys. I like to go in-depth in these types of subjects. The Autobahn is one of the most interesting aspects to me about Germany. It's just really cool. It's also what my first video ever reacting to Germany was about. So, we're going in depth. The essential Autobahn driving rules and signs. Check out his channel, link down below. Definitely German. Let's do it.
Hallo zusammen. So, the other day, my mother and I helped my good friend
Okay, good. I was afraid this was in German.
Nina moving out of her flat in Lichtenau in North Rhine-Westphalia. And on the way back, I decided to film our ride on the German
Oh my gosh, it's a wind turbine. I mean, a windmill. It's a windmill.
Autobahn a little bit.
Sorry, I like to trigger some people. Windmill. 2 windmills.
I know that many of you guys are interested in
It is a stupid name, I'll admit that.
and fascinated by the German highway system, how it works, what's the deal with speed limits and the like. This video does not only show us driving on the Autobahn, but
Man, this is not what I thought the Autobahn looked like.
I also explain common road signs and traffic rules. Alright,
I wonder what these little poles are.
alright, let's go, or drive for it.
Yeah.
Every Fahrt, meaning every ride on the Autobahn, begins before actually being on the Autobahn.
Every fart.
Of course. And no, I wasn't talking about farts, although it sounds
Can this guy hear me?
very similar to die Fahrt. I gotta admit that. And, well, apparently Lichtenau is quite a village in a way, because why not? Everyone should drive to the local supermarket in a golf cart.
Yes. People do that there too. This is what people do in the country over here in America. They drive golf carts. And on retirement, like, what do you call them? Communities.
Anyway, right now we're driving on a Landstraße, a country road so to speak. Take me home. Well, we're taking ourselves home, so don't worry.
Germans seem to love that song. Take me home. I love that song too. But it seems like you guys love it more than most Americans. Maybe that's not true. I don't know.
There are loads of Landstraßen in all parts of Germany, and they usually connect cities and regions. They don't belong to a city though, so you're usually allowed to drive faster than 50 kilometers per hour. On a Landstraße, the maximum allowed speed is 100 kilometers per hour, as long as it's not limited otherwise, for instance to 70 kilometers per hour, which is another very common allowed speed limit on Landstraßen. The next Autobahn entrance, die Autobahnauffahrt, is indicated on several signs.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit confusing. I mean, slightly confusing. These default speed limits, like here in America, you've got a sign telling you the speed limit on any road you go on. But then again, you know, the nice thing about these default speed limits is if you don't know the speed limit, you can kind of use your context clues about where you are and be like, okay, it's probably 50. Whereas here in America, you're just kind of lost if you don't know the speed limit.
As well. Blue is a typical color for Autobahn-related information.
Okay.
Now, we're right in front of the Auffahrt onto the Autobahn 44, the A44, die Autobahn 44, or as a short form, the A44. Because technically, there's not only one Autobahn in Germany, but a lot of them. We refer to
I kind of always used I figured that out by myself. I'm very proud, pat myself on the back. I figured out that the A plus number is a certain Autobahn.
Them by saying A and an additional number. In order not to become a Geisterfahrer, a ghost rider so to speak, these things can really save lives. So make sure to stay on this lane, therefore. And talking about it, the lane you're driving on when you're right about to enter the actual part of the Autobahn is called der Einfädelungsstreifen. It's important to increase your
Einfädelungsstreifen. This would freak me out. The fact that there's this sign here that kind of looks like it says do not enter on both of these. Don't enter here. That's obvious. Don't enter there. But why does this one have that sign too?
Speed on this lane before entering the actual Autobahn. The Verkehr, the traffic that's already driving on the Autobahn, has die Vorfahrt, by the way.
Right away.
The right of way or priority.
Of course.
This orange pillar you're seeing here can come in quite handy in an emergency case in which your own phone might not work, for instance. This is called a Notrufsäule, an emergency call pillar. That's the literal translation. It's
I like that. That's very cool. We don't have those.
basically
We have those on college campuses, but not on the highways.
a public emergency phone. These orange phones are spread every 2 kilometers across the Autobahn.
Every 2 kilometers. Remarkable. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Now, I will say, I guess it's kind of a little bit obsolete now by cell phones. But if your phone doesn't work, for whatever reason, that's freaking cool.
And in total,
And there have been times where I was driving on a long trip, and for whatever reason, maybe the cord stopped working and my phone died, and I felt a little bit unsafe, like I wished I had a... Which is kind of funny because, before cell phones, that was just the norm. But now I'm a softie that needs a cell phone to go driving. Anyway, these things would have helped.
There are over 17,000 emergency phones on over 13,000 kilometers on the German Autobahn.
Wow.
When you're suffering a Panne, a breakdown, or an Unfall, an accident on the Autobahn, it's important to wear your Warnweste, your high visibility vest, and also to set up your Warndreieck, your breakdown triangle, 150 to 400 meters away in
That's a long ways. Let's be honest, that is a long frickin' way to walk. 400 meters? No.
front of your
I
breakdown
refuse.
location. It's mandatory to all
Deport me back to America. I'm not walking 400 meters. That's a long freaking way. There and back. 150 is still pretty long, but that's at least something reasonable.
always have such a vest and triangle in your car, by the way.
Right.
These little blue signs often get overlooked, and in normal traffic they aren't that important to drivers.
I wonder if it's the kilometer marker, like here in America. You're going down a highway or an interstate, and there's mile markers that can help you tell an emergency vehicle where you are.
Anyway, the number they show is the respective length of the Autobahn up until this point, pretty much. And this information could come in very handy when you're actually having a Panne, a car breakdown, and in order to get help from a Pannenservice, a car breakdown service, so to speak,
Yes, sir.
you might have to explain where you are on the Autobahn. On the German Autobahn, there's a Richtgeschwindigkeit, a recommended or target speed of 130 kilometers per hour.
I never knew there was a target speed. I never knew that.
Yes, it's also true though
80 miles an hour. Damn, that's pretty fast. I've owned some cars where it's like you can't really drive them 80 miles an hour. They start to it's like they're going to fall apart.
that there are certain parts of the Autobahn without a speed limit, but this isn't the case for the Autobahn as a whole. In fact, there are many parts with a speed limit.
I love this song. It's probably copyright, so I probably have to, I don't know.
Changing lanes is only allowed when there is a gestrichelte Linie, a broken or dashed line, by the way. Otherwise, you have to remain on your respective lane. Rhyme.
Okay.
For the most
Same with America.
part, this Autobahn, the A44, features 2 Fahrbahnen, 2 lanes.
Two Fahrbahn.
You're only allowed to
Fahrbahn.
überholen to overtake cars on the left lane though.
See, now what's this guy doing? Is he overtaking? Doesn't look like it.
From the A44, which we're driving on right now, we could also decide to change onto the A33 to Bielefeld. That would mean we had to exit this Autobahn and enter the A33. We're gonna stay on the A44 to Dortmund though. And it's actually pretty difficult to pronounce things in an English way when there are German words in between. The green E331 refers to an Europastraße. There are many European roads that often lead through and connect many different European countries. In this case though,
I never thought about that.
the E331 only leads through Germany, and it bridges the distances between the towns of Dortmund and Kassel. Parts of the E331 are identical
Wait, so does the E stand for European? I mean, he just said that, but essentially it stands for European.
with the A44, by the way.
And so are these roads kind of helped funded by other countries? I mean, that's something I'd never thought about, because here in America of course, we have interstate highways and stuff that go between the states, along with all sorts of other highways and stuff. And, certain ones like interstates are funded by the federal government because they go between all these different states. And whereas, you have county roads, which are just little dinky roads in a county funded by the county. But in Europe, you've got all these roads connecting all the countries. Who funds them? How do you guys fund them? Deer crossing.
Yeah, it's really showing a deer. Das Reh. This
We have the exact same sign.
icon represents German game
Well, ours is typically yellow.
and beasts, meaning wild animals. This is a Gefahrenzeichen, a danger sign, which is not only indicated by the color combination, but also by the triangular shape. It warns of something. In this case, you have to be extra careful because there is a chance that deer or other wild animals might cross the road here. Yes, even though it's an Autobahn. There are lots of woods and forest regions in many parts of Germany, and some of them are also close to the Autobahn.
I went on a road trip yesterday, or this weekend, and counted 5 dead deer on the highways. So it's extremely common here in America as well. And now I'm just looking up. I'm curious to look up the deer population in Germany. I'm curious. Sue me, guys. I'm curious. Can a man be curious? Just because I'm not a child, I can still be curious. Okay, I don't know. I mean, if we extrapolate this trend, then maybe there's close to 20 million deer. We'll say 15 million deer in Germany. Oh my God. I thought we would have far, far, far more than you guys, but it's actually only, double. Which, considering how much more land area we have, you guys have a lot of deer packed in there. We would have a lot more deers if it wasn't for hunters. I'll tell you that. Millions of deer are killed every year by hunters.
These white signs are changing signs, and they don't show anything as long as the Verkehr, the traffic, is normal. But when there's a Stau, a traffic jam, or other obstacles which require additional rules for a certain period of time, signs like this one can turn around and show additional rules or information. For instance, speed limits or a warning of a traffic jam
What does he mean they can turn around?
coming up ahead.
That's pretty cool. I mean, you guys have all these kind of digital dynamic signs for speed limits and stuff like this. We just don't really have that here in America. Not really.
This sign tells us that there is a Parkplatz in 500 meters, a parking area. These parking areas are useful for taking a break, for going to a toilet, etc.
Okay, so it's a rest stop type area. We have those in America as well. Rest stops on highways. Maybe every 45 miles or something like that, or maybe more. Something like that. 50 miles. I mean, unless there's other towns. If there's towns and stuff, then it's unnecessary. But if you're going through the middle of nowhere, you got your rest stops. Look at all these windmills.
As you can see, these parking areas are
Why is this windmill not spinning? Turbine. Okay, turbine. I know. It doesn't mill anything, I understand. This one's spinning. That one is not.
As you can see, these parking areas are often
Need some WD-40.
used by LKW-Fahrern, by truck drivers, but normal drivers can use them as well, of course. Another bigger variant of a spot like this is called a Raststätte. They usually feature a store for buying food
Oh, there you go.
or beverages and a Tankstelle, a gas station.
Those are
On
important
the
for
German
driving.
Autobahn, trucks are driving on the right lane, as long as they don't want to overtake another truck or vehicle, which, to be honest with you, can be quite a pain in the ass for other drivers. We even have an own term for a situation like that. So when a truck overtakes another truck, it's called das Elefantenrennen.
Das Elefantenrennen. Oh man, there were plenty of Elefantenrennens on my road trip this weekend. Plenty of them. Plenty of them.
The elephant race.
Oftentimes, semis actually have a different speed limit. They'll have to drive 5 miles an hour slower than the other traffic.
In Germany, we have a Rechtsverkehr, a right-hand traffic system. And in addition to that, we also have a Rechtsfahrgebot, an obligation to drive on the right side or on the right lane whenever there is normal traffic or enough space to do so, which means you shouldn't be driving on the left lane all the time. When you're on an
Yeah. Some Americans need some of this Rechtsverkehr. How did he say that?
or on the right lane whenever it's Fahrgebot, an obligation traffic system. And in addition to that, we also have a Rechtsfahrgebot,
Rechtsfahrgebot.
traffic or
Some Americans need some Rechtsfahrgebot.
when you're on an Autobahn with 3 lanes, meaning with an additional middle lane, it's technically not forbidden to also remain on the middle lane as
Finally, someone told me. I've been wondering that.
long as there's only a couple of cars driving on the right lane. The usual maximum speed for an LKW on the
Although that wasn't the most satisfying rule. I mean, that sounds a little bit too fast and loose to be a German rule. It's not just like, oh, you know, yeah, go ahead and do whatever you want in the middle lane and the right lane. I'm sure there's a rule.
German Autobahn is 80 kilometers per hour.
I'm sorry. Did he say what?
The usual maximum speed for an LKW on the German Autobahn is 80 kilometers per hour.
The semis can only go 49 miles per hour? Oh my god. No wonder it's such a pain when they pass each other. Jeez. Semis here in America, I mean, they go, like I said, about 5 miles an hour slower. Typically, they're going about the same speed as the rest of traffic, 70 miles an hour, you know, about that, if we're going down a fast highway. Wow. I understand that though, because the most fatal accidents are the ones, of course, that involve large trucks. They just plow through, multiple cars and people. It's terrible.
This blue sign tells us that the A44 to Dortmund also leads to the airport Paderborn-Lippstadt. Specific places or spots of interest like this one are usually shown in white and black. Now, if we wanted to drive to Bad Wünnenberg, we would have to change to the right lane in 1,000 meters from here, which equals 1 kilometer. The 480
Yes, of course. So why doesn't it just say 1 km?
in the orange box indicates that we won't be driving to Bad Wünnenberg on an Autobahn though, but on a Bundesstraße, the B480. A Bundesstraße can but doesn't have to look similar to an Autobahn, and in contrast to a usual Autobahn, a Bundesstraße doesn't necessarily just have to be about rapid or fast traffic with vehicles.
Okay.
Gray signs like this one indicate that certain traffic rules are cancelled from here on.
I almost didn't even notice those signs.
In this case, the Überholverbot, the ban on passing, or the no passing zone for vehicles with a higher total weight than 3.5 tons is cancelled. From here on, they are allowed to overtake another vehicle again. The initial road sign that initiated the ban looks like this, by the way. We'll see it in a few minutes as well.
That's okay, now that he said that, I understand, but just intuitively, you see this with it crossed out, you would think that's banning it. But it makes sense that, because I understand that circle with the red is like a more generic sign for banning stuff.
These signs indicate that an Ausfahrt, an Autobahn exit, is coming up.
I guess they don't use, kilometers because maybe it's better to just stick with meters to keep it all consistent.
Each stripe represents 100 meters, and there are always 3 of these signs. In other words, in front of every Ausfahrt, you'll always have 3 of these signs with 3, 2, and 1 stripe.
That's pretty cool.
In Germany, every Ausfahrt has a specific number. In this case, the very next Ausfahrt is the Ausfahrt 61. An Anschlussstelle, an interchange or connection point like this one, is indicated by a round white circle with a respective number in it. This almost inconspicuous sign with a U and a number refers to an Umleitungsstrecke, a detour track, which, in case of a traffic jam, leads you across a different track, which later ends in the actual Autobahn you were driving on before.
Okay.
Of course, when you're leaving the Autobahn, you have to drive much slower than before, and in this case, the maximum allowed speed on the exit lane is 60 km per hour. A little trivia fact. The white and black pillars you're seeing on the right side are placed every 50 meters, which might also help to keep a certain distance to other vehicles in certain situations.
Is that what they're there for? They're just there to mark every 50 meters?
Obviously, and just to have stated this, these aren't all possible road signs you'll find on the German Autobahn. Of course not. There are quite a few more signs that might appear in general or even more often in certain regions. One of the newest signs most Germans might not even have seen yet is this. It's a new sign that was specifically added for self-driving cars. They are able to determine their exact position with these signs a bit better.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So it's got like a high contrast kind of symbol for the cameras to pick up on and locate and use to... That's cool. I like it.
They are able to determine their exact position with these signs a bit better.
Nifty. Nifty.
This sign warns us of a potentially windy part of the Autobahn.
Ah.
As you will have noticed by now, there are many bushes and trees on each side of the Autobahn, and they also help to reduce the amount of wind.
Oh. That's very smart. Smart of those people to plant all those trees there, huh? You know, we don't use these. I recognize this as some kind of like wind thing to tell you kind of which way the wind is blowing, I guess. But those are not common. Whatever. I don't even know what it's called. This wind sock thing. So I would not have known that was for the wind. That's interesting. I don't think we have any signs about wind on the road signs here in America.
Now, before I had my own driver's
I was just curious what was on here. Oh, just more deer.
license, I always wondered what this strange and really simplistic sign means. It actually points to a recommended alternative route. You don't have to drive according to this recommendation, it just points out another possibility. Signs like these are called Hinweisschilder, guide signs.
I don't get it. A recommended route for what? To go where? It's saying get off the Autobahn and go this other way? Like a detour? Like the other sign?
This sign warns of nearby air traffic. Be especially careful and brace yourselves for suddenly appearing planes above you.
Really?
Or so.
Okay. I mean, sometimes planes have to land on the highway, you know, in an emergency. Maybe that's, you know, be careful. Watch out. Leave room for the plane.
A little funny anecdote. Mike Portnoy, the former drummer of the American progressive metal band Dream Theater, has stated that when they were touring in Germany many years ago, he actually thought that Ausfahrt referred to a town, and it would be a pretty massive town therefore, because it appears every few kilometers.
So
I had heard that. That is funny.
first time we toured Germany, I kept seeing this the sign on the highway that said Ausfahrt, and I thought it was the name of a city. And I would see it like every couple miles. I was like, holy shit, this city is huge. How big is Ausfahrt? And then I found out that it means exit.
So, where are you from? Well, I'm from a town called Ausfahrt, said nobody ever.
It does sound like a town. Oh, McDonald's. I can spot a McDonald's a mile away. That's an American superpower. Look at that. Look at that. Boom. You see the golden arches. Damn, I've actually never seen a McDonald's sign that high up in the air. That feels like a very American thing, actually. You know, it kind of feels like here in America, you know, maybe you guys have the same rule about your national flag is supposed to be higher than any other flag it's standing with. And something, you know, McDonald's is kind of that way too, I feel like. If it's among other fast food signs, it should be on top.
And here we have it. A speed limit on the Autobahn.
Oh my god, no, no. Only 120.
This sign warns of so-called Rollsplit, loose gravel or chippings, which is one of the reasons for this speed limit.
Ah. It's kind of funny because it looks immaculately maintained. despite the loose gravel. It looks very nice to me. I did notice the sun turbines, as we call them, the solar turbines. That's nice. Okay, so trucks aren't allowed to pass. Got it.
Whenever there's a traffic jam, you need to leave a Rettungsgasse, a corridor for emergency vehicle access.
Right. Okay, Rettungsgasse.
You always have to leave space between the very left and the other lanes to the right, and it doesn't matter how many lanes there are.
Oh,
And
okay.
not only are the Foo Fighters a great band to listen to when you're cruising on the Autobahn, but they also know what's not allowed on it as well. Because there's no way back other than leaving the Autobahn via an official exit lane ahead of you, because turning around, wenden, is not allowed.
Got it.
These digital signs might
That
also
would be really difficult to turn around on the Autobahn. I could see that. You have to take an exit and like do a bunch of cauliflower type things and get back on.
appear here and there. The prohibitions and information they show can vary and change according to the current traffic situation.
Pretty smart. I just noticed not a single billboard. I mean, what the hell? How are other countries like this? Here in America, I mean, this is just free advertising real estate. You know what I mean? The driver doesn't need to be that focused on the driving and the road, okay? He needs to be marketed to.
Every now and then, you'll also see brownish signs like this one. No, they don't lead you to Nazis, but they rather inform you about a certain region, a sightseeing spot, or an interesting location.
That's kind of funny because I think that's exactly like over here in America. The brown signs are like parks and things like that, or sightseeing.
This one says Nature Resort Arnsberger Wald, for der Wald meaning forest, and Bilsteintal, the Bilstein Valley. At the moment it's barely possible to keep your Windschutzscheibe, your front shield or your windshield clean while driving on the Autobahn, because many mosquitoes are flying around and yeah, it's a pain in the ass. I hope though that this video wasn't a pain in the ass to watch, and if you've enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like and to share it with other people.
I hate mosquitoes, but I loved this video. Phenomenal. Check them out, link down below. Top comment. I drove to Switzerland and Denmark and Spain from Germany through Autobahn. And trust me, it was so easy to drive when you find everyone following rules and signs. Imagine that. This is something I truly appreciate about Germany, and hats off to German people. That does sound nice. Sounds like a dream come true. Thank you so much for watching. That was really fascinating. I'll see you guys tomorrow.